Hello, everyone. Welcome to another weekly episode of Shadow Space. This is officially my first episode in 2024, and I am super excited to be back here and just sharing my voice with you guys again this year. I don't know about you guys, I just feel some amazing energy and just some great positive changes happening this year. So I hope you guys took the time over the holidays to celebrate with your family and friends and are welcome in this new year with all new, fresh, renewed energy as I am. And I hope it was a fantastic holiday for you guys. So to all of my returning listeners, I just want to say thank you so much for your continued support. It means more than you will ever know. As I always say, I am super grateful for you guys and for all the love that you continue to show me. And I really just want to thank you guys for continuing to spread the word and sharing this content with all your friends and family who may benefit from these topics. And to all of my new listeners who are not familiar with who I am your host, Laura Brown. I am a certified trauma-informed coach. I am a certified breathing coach as well as a meditation coach. So I just wanted to formally introduce myself this year because I know I did not do that last year, and hopefully create some familiarity. That word is always hard for me to say, with you all as well. I publish weekly episodes on topics related to self-development, introspection, and the shadow, most often referred to as our hidden beliefs, our patterns, or unconscious ideas of the self, and so much more. So I really created this podcast to help guide those who are seeking maybe deeper understanding or answers, or simply just wanting to know more about themselves and how they can improve in areas where they may feel stuck. However, I do like to share this full disclaimer and say that I am not a licensed therapist. And by all means, the topics that I share on my podcast and ideas that I share here are not meant to diagnose or treat anyone. These topics that I share are references to my own personal experiences as well as my own journey. And I always like to advise anyone I speak to, whether personally or just, all of you guys, my listeners, anyone who may be going through some form of suffering or may need some help, I always like to advise anyone to seek support and professional help wherever you can. So I encourage you guys to really just use your best discernment when it comes to your health and well-being, because that is very important. It's very important to me, and I just wanted to share that with you guys as well. So with all that being said, I have a really cool episode for you guys today. And in the spirit of the new year, I just thought I wanted to talk about new beginnings. New beginnings as it relates to a new year, as it relates to just endless opportunities that we may have, and I'm sure there will be many for all of us, and just new beginnings in terms of perspective, in just terms of changes or goals or what have you. I know there are still people out there who do resolutions, and that's great. If that's you, fantastic, keep going. But I wanted to touch on new beginnings and just kind of share some of the things I have been doing, and also share some perspective on new beginnings as it may relate to the shadow. So for me, honestly, just throughout my journey, as I have been working on myself, and you guys know this, I used to really kind of buy into the idea of new beginnings being kind of a hard reset, like a hard start, or, a new date come along, like a new year, or maybe there's an event that happens, or, what have you. So I used to be very much in that mindset and just say, okay, I couldn't do it now, but I'm going to wait and reset it. And sometimes I still do this, with, just in my weekly goal settings, sometimes I do this because I think, no matter how well we intend, sometimes things can get away from us. So on a weekly basis, I'm the type of person who likes to set up goals and things I like to achieve. But sometimes there are a lot of unexpected things that come in the way and just, throw you off track. So when that happens, I do like to say, okay, you know what? Maybe let's start fresh on Monday, if that was the case. But just in general, just now how I observe new beginnings, for me, my perspective on that has completely changed. I see new beginnings as an opportunity to start over every single day, not just when the year changes, or not just when the month changes, or not just when an event occurs, but more so an opportunity to start afresh and start anew every single day. Because in all reality, we are given a new opportunity every single day that we awake. So I have changed my perspective on that, and I feel that in doing so, it has definitely helped me move along on my process and just my journey. It has helped me continue to move and not stay stuck as much as I used to in the past. And so I like to really reframe the idea of starting new as an opportunity that we have every single day, because we do have that opportunity. If things don't go our way today, that doesn't mean that we can't start over tomorrow. And I feel that the more we can, bring some level of awareness around this, and the more that we practice this, the more we will continue to move on that track, right? Because I think one of the things, at least that I've experienced before, one of the biggest challenges was just feeling stuck. And I know many people who experience this. It's, the idea that if you can't get it all done, or if it doesn't all go your way, or if it doesn't go perfectly the way you envision, all things are lost. And that's a mindset shift, that we can all make, because I'm a firm believer it's in how you frame things, but also how you reframe things for yourself, because that is so important. The belief lies within us, right? We create the meaning of something. And so with that power that we have to create the meaning, we can also create a whole new meaning, or a whole new reference to that meaning. And we can start fresh. So in the respect of new beginnings, I'm a firm believer now of, okay, if that didn't work out quite the way I had anticipated or expected, all things are not lost. I do have another opportunity, and I will try again. And so I wanted to bring this to you all, and just in the spirit of the new year, to help encourage you guys to perhaps think about ways you can incorporate maybe some of these ideas into your day-to-day life. And one of the things that I have actually started doing this year, which I look at the calendar, it's only the 5th day into the new year, but I feel so much further ahead than I have had any time in the past, because I have created an opportunity for myself to do things, but more so do them on a smaller scale. Meaning, instead of creating these grandiose goals that are, I'm sure they're great in theory, but instead of creating these ginormous goals, I have been able to kind of break my goals down into tiny steps. And every single day I take a step towards that big goal in those tiny steps, I consider myself moving forward, and I can feel myself moving forward. And it has been a game changer for me. I am as I said, as I sit here and just look at the date, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what an amazing feeling to be able to just look at what you're doing and actually see that you're actually doing what you say you're going to do. Because in just diluting things for us, right, it becomes so much more manageable and so much easier to digest. And I found that the slow and steady analogy or idea that we hear, or the reference of slow and steady wins the race, has become true for myself in just this one approach. And so I have started just kind of tracking my progress in just this change that I've made, and I see so much traction. I see so much forward movement, and I feel great. I'll say the other day I was sitting here in my office, and I was gosh, I forget what I was doing, but I believe I was planning or content planning, or I was doing some research. I can't remember specifically what it was, but I found myself, I think I did it for 2 hours, and I found myself in such a state of flow. And it was the most amazing feeling to be in that state, in that space of flow. And if you've ever experienced flow, you know what I'm talking about. It's just the idea that you are hyper-focused on what you're doing, but it doesn't feel strenuous. It feels clear. It feels like you're making progress. It feels like you're being productive, and all of the great feelings that come with that. And I looked at my clock, and like I said, I think I sat there for 2 hours doing what I was doing. And I was in such a focused, but, in just a state where I was actually doing something that was meaningful, but also something that was creating traction. And that feeling is so rewarding. It's just one of the best feelings in the world. And when I finished what I was doing, I remember just walking away and thinking, oh my gosh, I feel great. And that feeling wasn't tied to anything big or major. It was just the feeling of accomplishment. And so that just made me feel amazing. And so I kind of dove into that space, and because I was curious. I'm always curious. And as you guys know, I'm a deep diver. I like to go deep, as always. So I was just kind of exploring that space and saying to myself, okay, what changed? What was that about? And one of the things I walked away with was, because of the steps I created and what I was actually doing, it was very clear for me. And it was also achievable. And it was also not stressful, but it was enjoyable. And it just brought a different perspective for me. And that's what I took away from that experience. It was just a state of flow where you're just like, okay, I got it done. It's accomplished. I can cross that checklist and just walk away. Even if I didn't do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 20 on that list, but I've gotten these 2 things out of the way, and that was a great feeling. And so those are some of the changes that I have incorporated for myself this year, where I've already seen a lot of progress and forward movement in my life. And so I encourage you guys to really look at new beginnings in a way where you can where can you start over, and how can you bring some change into your life at this very moment? Because what we have is now. It's not the past. It's not the future. It's now. And I always like to say the past and the future are simultaneously created in the now. And that is so true, because the more you practice being mindful, being present in your process, the more you're actually moving in that direction of where you envision your future self being. And so I encourage you guys to really look at new beginnings, not as a hard start date, but just as an opportunity to do something new every day, or to stay on track of whatever it is that you started to do every day. I mean, as a goal, or maybe as things that you want to accomplish. So that perspective for me has been a game changer. And like I said, it's instilled in me a whole new habit, which has now resulted in just an amazing feeling. I feel so great. I feel proud of my progress. I feel like I can actually do the things that I want to do because of this very change I made, right? Of just breaking down steps and just smaller, tiny baby steps and taking however many I take each and every day. Because the key is not really doing everything on your list. It's just staying consistent, right? And just creating that discipline. So I encourage you guys to really explore the new beginning and just this year, what would you like to change and how can you make that more practical for yourself? And what can you do each and every day towards that new beginning goal that you have in mind? And then the other perspective of new beginnings that I thought about that I want to share with you guys is on the shadow aspect, from the shadow perspective, I should say. New beginnings can be just hidden underneath so many layers within us. So I used to look at new beginnings as something that I wanted to do, right? Like, hey, it's a new year, it's a new date, it's a new start. I want to go after this. But then sometimes I felt paralyzed in moving forward, because I used to think, okay, well, I have this vision, but then there's X, Y, and Z preventing me from doing what I want to do. And a lot of that for me was rooted in the hidden beliefs I talk about. Fear, right? Which is a huge one. Many people who want to create something, start something fresh, or start a new project, a new dream, a new goal, can be really paralyzed by fear. I know I've experienced it for a very long time. Even starting this podcast has been in the making for at least 5 solid years. I've thought about starting a podcast for a very, very long time. But hey, the inner critic was louder at that time. And so it was paralyzing. I couldn't get past myself. So from a shadow perspective, when we look at new beginnings and the things that we want to do, we also have to consider the layers underneath that are preventing us from doing that very thing. And so I mentioned fear. Fear is a big one. Fear is going to continue, I believe, to be a big one for many of us until we can learn that fear never actually goes away. That's mind-blowing that we all think that fear needs to be something that we tame or tackle or put behind us. Fear is actually going to be a part of our existence because fear is designed to keep us safe. But fear also, in my perspective, is there to inform us that whatever it is that we're doing is important, right? And so if we don't build the courage to feel that fear and do it anyway, we will continue to stay stuck in that fear. So that's one very important thing to understand about fear, is that fear doesn't actually disappear. Fear is never going to be present. Fear is going to continue to be here. We just have to build the strength and the courage and the faith to know that we can overcome fear, right? And how we do that is by drawing from our wisdom, drawing from our experiences, or perhaps drawing from inspiration from other people that we've seen do what we want to do. And so I wanted to talk about that because I think that is a very important part of why people may be super excited about starting over, but don't actually do anything. Right? They don't take the steps because they feel stuck in that fear that can be extremely debilitating and paralyzing. And then there's the other aspect. There's so many hidden aspects that can stop us, the doubts, right? The lack, how many times have you told yourself, oh, I want to do this, but I don't have that and I need this, but how am I going to get it? I don't know. I don't have the resources. How am I going to, who am I going to talk to? Or I'll never get it together. I mean, it's an endless loop of just disempowering thoughts that can happen and can ensue from that. The just the lack of just believing in ourselves can be also something that impairs us from moving forward. So on the shadow aspect, we need to really consider the layers that may be hidden, and there could be so many more. And I'm just talking about the ones that come to mind right now, but there could be so many. There could be a multitude of things that can be there that is under the surface that we don't want to acknowledge, or that we don't want to be honest about, or that we are afraid to even explore, or that we have no awareness around, quite frankly. Sometimes we have no awareness. Sometimes we think it's the idea of so and so's fault, it's my life, it's the victim mindset can also be a huge part of that, where we feel that we cannot do things because we are somehow not able to, because of so many reasons. So there's so many things that can be hidden under the surface. So when we're exploring that shadow side of us, we need to really highlight these areas for ourselves, so that we can begin to dive in and see what are these layers there for, and where are they rooted, and how can we begin to work through those layers so that we can allow ourselves the opportunity to move forward. And so I really encourage you guys to really dive in there. I know it's scary. I know it's not easy. I know it's easier said than done. I've done it myself. This is why I'm here. It's really, I've experienced all of these different scenarios that I talk about on a personal level. So I empathize fully with anyone who may be going through something similar. But I really encourage you guys to be curious. And I believe also in being curious is where we discover so many things that come to light that actually begin to look less frightening than we initially thought. And so I've always adopted this perspective of exploration, self-exploration, diving in and being curious about what's there, and trying to navigate, right, that part of myself. And so I encourage you guys to also think about how you can incorporate that into your life this year, because when we can overcome these hidden beliefs and limitations that we create on an unconscious level or on a subconscious level, this is where, as I say all the time, this is where the opportunity for growth lies. This is where we can make such an important change in our life, and such an important growth, and such a huge trajectory in our life. It's when we can dive into these areas and light them up, bring the light into that darkness, right? And that is the shadow. This is where the opportunity for growth lies, right? And so this is what I've seen for myself, because a lot of these areas I began to explore, I found so many amazing realizations. I actually discovered so many amazing things about myself that I didn't know were there. And so I can't speak enough about the shadow work and how that can make such an important difference in your life, and such an impactful, meaningful difference in your life. So I encourage you guys to explore your shadow side as it relates to new beginnings, but also to be really excited about the new beginnings that are coming into your life, and also to really just create perhaps a a practical way to move in that direction of your new beginning and what you envision for yourself this year. Okay? So, with that being said, I just want to leave you guys here. I hope this episode was, as always, helpful in some way or enlightening in some way to you guys. I know this year is going to be the most amazing year yet. I feel it. I feel the energy of change. I feel the energy of opportunity. I feel it. And I feel it for all of us. And I hope it's a magical time for all of us and just an amazing time, because I know last year was filled with lessons and just some heaviness here and there. I'm sure this year will have its set as well, but I really just wish you guys the best. And I will be here weekly publishing and sharing my voice and sharing any ideas, any tips, or any topics that I can think of that could be helpful to you all on your journey. As well, I am so excited to bring you guys some new collaborations this year, which I will share with you guys along the way. But until then, I hope this episode was helpful to you guys, and I can't wait to connect with you guys again on my next one. But as I always like to say, please remember to continue to spread your light, and also remember the light exists within you. As always, love and light, peace and blessings, and have a great weekend, guys, and we'll chat again on my next episode. Bye.